All right, so this is the control panel. This feeds all of your main plant. So it feeds your hot water heaters, your pumps that do your heating, and the GHP boiler outside. It's also responsible for feeding your ventilation. So you've got various fans in the building, one in your changing room, your drying room, and you've got Honours Hall fan as well, and the kitchen. So there's some ventilation fed from here as well. And this control panel will monitor and control all of that plant. Now, I'll run you over the panel first, and then I'll talk a bit more about the intelligent side of the control. So, first of all, these lamps and switches are very conventional, and the first label we come to is the panel status. This is probably the most important one, because this control circuit live lamp, that will let you know if your control circuit's live. Okay, so if that's out, you're not going to have any plant running. Okay, if that's lit and then your plant ain't running, then you can work through the process. But that's one of the most important lamps, and this is the panel status label, which really shows you the two most important things. There's the next lamp's the fire alarm. Above the panel here is a fire interface relay. That's wired into the fire alarm system. And when the fire alarm goes off, that will just break a contact, and this monitors that contact, and it breaks the circuit and says, shut down everything. Okay, so if you've got a fire alarm specialist in doing a test, and you don't want to shut all this down, you can probably ask him to isolate this loop just while he does a test, or, you know, if you didn't want everything to go down. But that's the fire relay. And then above the hot water heaters up there, you'll see thermal links. So those big orange heaters, orange and blue heaters, there's a little grey box floating above it with a bit of tube coming off of it. Okay, that's a fusible link. Any gas appliance like that, or the GHP, you've got a bit of lead in there which will melt under fire. So if there's a fire, it will heat up and it will melt the link. And that circuit is wired in with the knockoff button by the door as well. There's a red knockoff button. Okay. And that's one circuit. So that circuit comes out of the panel, goes to that, goes to that, goes to that, and then back and says I'm healthy. And if any of those rupture, if you break that or those melt, then you're going to shut down the gas. Okay? And rupture of any of those, fire alarm, power failure, which you've found out, or that safety circuit there that I just mentioned, that will close your gas solenoid valve. Your gas solenoid valve is that big valve on the gas pipe there, with a cable going into it. That's it. Now the purpose of that is if there's a fire or there's overheat or there's a fire alarm, then you don't want to shut the gas off immediately. Or if there's a fire in the plant room, someone hits the knock-off button, you're going to shut the gas off. So these are the main hardwired safety interlocks into all of this. If any of this is lit, if any of these red lights are lit, you're not going to have any plant. Now the way this works is, if you was to rupture the circuit by hitting the knockoff button or those links melt, the gas solenoid will shut and it will say closed, but it'll also tell you that the gas safety circuit has failed. Okay, because something's wrong. As soon as you rectify that problem, so say you put the fire out, you've replaced the link, or you've reset the knockoff button, and you reset that just by twisting it, this light will go out, but this light will stay on to let you know that you've rectified the fault, but the gas valve's still closed. It needs you to say, I'm happy, I want to reset the solenoid. And once that's the case, you press that button and the solenoid will open. All right. So they're your life safety systems for, we call it life safety, but they're your hardwired safety systems for this control panel. On top of that, you've got a pressurization unit. There's a pressurization unit over there in that corner, yeah. And what that is a mechanical device. We don't control it from here, but we monitor it, and all it does is monitor the pressure in the system. And if it goes over pressure, it will take some pressure out of the system using a big balloon in a vessel next to it. And if it goes under pressure, it will inject some more pressure in off of the mains. And all we do is monitor that. And the reason we monitor that is because we don't want your pumps running when there's a low pressure. Because say there's a leak somewhere, or a radiator comes off the wall or something, and you've got gushing water, the last thing you want to do is run pumps to fuel it. So we monitor that, and what you'll see is, because of the hot and the cold, and what you will see is momentarily there will be high pressure, low pressure, but that self-rectifies. So it's keeping a steady pressure in your system, and sometimes you'll see the boilers and the pump shut off briefly, 60 seconds, come back on when it's healthy again. It's nothing you need to monitor or worry about. It's maintenance free. It's just, we just shut the pumps when there's a pressure alarm. Okay, so that is those two lamps there, and then this kitchen gas status. In the kitchen, I'll go up and show you that system independently, but you've got a gas proving system, which I'm sure someone may or may not have shown you how to use, but you're not, when you've got forced ventilation into a kitchen, which you have, you've got 2 fans and you've got gas appliances, you have to have a gas proving system to meet regulations, and that means that the staff have to be aware that they need to start the fans. There's a key switch up there to start the fans, and then when they want to use the gas, they have to start the fans, then start the gas sequence, and the gas panel will go through a sequence of proving the gas. So it will say, yes, I've got airflow on the supply, yes, I've got airflow on the extract, the gas pressure's fine, remain on. And if any of those aren't met, it will start beeping and you'll soon know about it. And all we do down here is monitor the status, whether it's open or closed. So they're not alarms, that's not a fault light or anything like that. It just says, up at the moment, you've got no gas to the kitchen. Other plant monitoring alarms, these aren't important, but there's a hydromag unit, which is a water conditioner. Just letting you know if that unit's got an alarm, if it needs some service or maintenance. And the booster set alarm, that boosts your cold water into the system via this tank. And then the underfloor the underfloor circuit high limit. So we've got a high limit stat up on the circuit that serves the underfloor heating. And the reason we put that on there is because underfloor heating circuits, they need to be protected, so they should only be 60 degrees in the primary side. So if it goes anywhere above 70, we just raise an alarm just to let you know that you've got hot temperature. The GHP is your main heat source. That is completely independent and standalone. We enable it on the start of the time zone. It starts your heating and away we go. The controller for that is on the side of the panel. Although it's part of our panel, it's not our kit. We were sent it by them just to make it look neat. Didn't want to mount it on a wall or something, so they put it on the side of our panel. But that controls your boiler. Okay. The boiler will be enabled only when these safety circuits, so they'll still be respected. They won't be able to run if there's a problem up here. And all of these switches, as I go on, all of these switches have got 3 positions. Hand means manual, but respecting these safety circuits. Off is off, obviously, and auto is respecting the safety circuits, but under time switch control. So it'll go on and off when on the occupancy times, which I'll show you how to use those in a bit. So going on from pumps, you've got a primary set, which just circulates around the primary side of the plant room. So once it comes off of the boiler, we've got some pumps circulating around the plant room, and then you've got a couple of secondary sets. One does the air handling units. So on each air handling unit, you've got control valves that allow certain heat to be past the coil so that you can temper the air to the building. And then you've got an underfloor heating circuit, which I said, it just maintains 60 degrees to that all the time. Each of the pumps is a twin set. You'll notice that there's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Only one pump should ever be running at any one time. And it will tell you, indicates on the pumps there, you can see one's in stop and one's at whatever the watts is at the time. Okay? Only one should ever run at a time. The reason is because they're the same pump. The reason there's 2 is because for maintenance purposes and wear and tear, we change the duty of the pumps weekly so that you get equal use out of each pump. And another reason we put 2 pumps is because once the duty pump is enabled, so every Monday morning you'll have a duty pump. Say one's running, that's the duty pump for that week. Next Monday we'll change over to pump 2, and then the next Monday it'll change back to pump 1. So that saves the wear and tear on the pumps. When the duty pump is enabled, we monitor flow across that pump for 60 seconds. You'll see little white devices with copper pipes going either side of the pump. They're mounted on the wall there, and you can see the copper pipes, tiny little copper pipe either side of the pump. That just monitors the differential pressure across the pump set. So we say, start duty pump 1, have we got flow, have we got flow, have we got flow for 60 seconds. If we haven't got flow, we shut that pump off and we start pump 2, and we start that process again. So again, it's a maintenance-free rotation of the pumps, so you're not without heating. So if there's a problem with a pump, chances are it's going to start the second pump and you won't have a problem with that pump. Okay, so when it does fail a pump, it will raise an alarm on there, and I'll show you how to reset that in just a bit. So you've got that for all the different pump sets. The AHU pumps serve the air handling units, all the ventilation with heating valves, but it's constant temperature, so whatever's coming off of the heater out there, the boiler, will go to the air handling unit. So there's no modulation of that temperature until it gets the air handler, and then the air handler decides, well, I need 21 degrees, so I better open my valve a bit, and it's got the temperature there to use it if it needs it. Underfloor heating is always 60, and that maintains 60 via a 3-port valve over there. It's little orange jobby on the pipework, little actuator that rotates. You probably can't see it from there, it's down at a bit low level. Now feel free to see that actuator there, that orange actuator over there.
Great.
That'll just modulate to either put more water up there or bypass back to the boiler if it's up to temperature. Hot water heaters, these are your hot water heaters. They've got a separate time zone, and they run, the times are actually set on the heaters themselves, and they run independently. So they're gas fired. You can run them independently of your heater outside, and they deliver the hot water to your taps. That's about all I can say about that. Again, they've got the thermal links above them, and we monitor them for fault here as well. If there's a fault on one of them, you'll see the red light on the panel. And then you've got all your fans. So you've got various fans dotted around: honours hall, kitchen extract, kitchen supply, changing room, and drying room. And there's also a toilet fan, which is that one up at high level there. That big box with a duct coming off of it, that's your toilet fan. With the ventilation, what you've got is you've got CO2 air quality sensors in the changing room and in the drying room, and if the air quality is above a certain standard, it will bring the fan on to clear the air, to improve the air quality. Okay, now you can manually turn that fan on. There's key switches up there, and they will only run when you want to run them. So there's a key switch on the wall that says I want ventilation. You turn it on and it runs. Same with the kitchen. The kitchen's fan is enabled from here, although you need to initiate it from the key switch upstairs. And we need to just bottom out that whole sequence with the gas proving, because if the gas goes into alarm, then whoever's in the kitchen is going to get a bit annoyed. Once the fans are enabled, they've got heating valves, so they just temper the air, maintain 21 degrees. That's the set point. You've got free on the changing room. So on the changing room fan, you've got free heat reclaim. So there's something called a recuperator in there that basically uses the extract air to pass the supply air, and the friction of those two heats up the air without using any heating, and it's really, really efficient. When we were commissioning this job, we saw it -2 outside, and we was delivering 17 to your changing rooms just using that without using any boilers or any gas. So it's pretty decent, yeah. So that's how your temperature control works on your air handling units. And then we've got some monitoring down here of filters and frost. On each fan you've got a frost coil, so it's a heating coil, but it's not used to temper the air. What it's used for is to protect the heating coil. So it just modulates to maintain 10 all the time. If it goes below 10, we've got hardwired frost stats that say the valve must have failed because I'm 5 degrees, shut the fan off. And what that's for is to stop freezing cold air, freezing your coils, cracking your coils, and then a flood. All right, so you've got a frost coil that's just protection, and then you've got a frost stat that protects the frost coil, and the frost coil protects the heating coil. All right, and then we monitor some filter alarms as well. So usually, if you've got planned preventative maintenance, you're usually changing the filters before they go off. But should you not, then they'll tell you when the filters are dirty on your air handling units. You may get some nuisance trips, they may come on and then go off. That means that they're just on the sort of edge and they might need cleaning soon. So it's not a rocket science, it's just if you see that flicking on, you know soon you're going to have to, and if it's permanently on, then it's filthy. normally with the maintenance, or normally with a project like this, where they do all the commissioning and there's dust and stuff, you find that the filters don't last very long in the first few months. But normally, companies like Air, they'll provide you with some spare filters. I don't know if they did that, or they'll just come and replace them because of the dust kicking around during commissioning. And the drying room fan is just time switch, so that just comes on under a time switch which we set in there, and I'll go through that in just a minute. Frost protection, other stages of frost protection. If you was to come in out of hours and you've set the time switch off and you think, well, plant shouldn't be running, and you see some pumps running, what that means is it might be under frost protection. We've got 3 stages of frost protection. One is the outside air. If the outside air goes below 0, we just run some pumps, because what we don't want to do is freeze any pipe work. So we just start circulating the water until it goes above I think it's 2 degrees outside, and then we'll shut the pumps off. The second stage is immersion, so all the sensors in this pipe work, we monitor those, and if they go below 16, we run the pumps as well. And the last thing is the space temperature. The space temperature in the space, if that goes below 16, we just run the pumps, and we run the boilers as well, just to elevate to 20. And the reason for that is for fabric frost. If you got to protect plasterboard, all of the stuff, the paint, and that needs protecting as well, because if you drop anything below sort of 10 degrees in there, you're gonna have cracks and all sorts. So there's 3 stages of frost protection built in as well. And last thing to mention on that is the optimization. An optimizer, although you've got a time zone, say your time zone's set 8 o'clock in the morning, that's when you're going to come in, that's when you want the heating on. The optimizer will look at the outside air temperature, and it will look at the inside temperature, and it will calculate how long it needs to come on in order to be up to temperature for the start of occupancy. Now we've put a limit on that for an hour, so it won't ever come on more than an hour before, based on this application. You've got good thermal properties in the building. The system isn't that big, so we've limited it to an hour, but you may find that plant comes on just a little bit earlier. All right. This is the power section. I'm just going to show you inside this section here before we go into the details of the control. This is where all the power is fed from. Okay, it's a load of relays and some breakers. There's some, just like MCBs like you would see at your house, and some motor starters down there as well, and transformer. This is really just for power. No one should be in here unless you're a qualified electrician. But the other side, is the brains. So everything, all the control philosophy that I've just explained to you is inside here. This is a web-based controller. Now inside this thing, you've got web page access. There's a web page built into that, and all of the settings that you can access there are in there via a web page. So if you was to just get a Ethernet point in here on the network, plug it in, you can just type in the IP address of that into a web browser, and you can access this anywhere in the building, or if your IT team allow you outside, then you can do it at home. All right, so that's all ready to go.
So where would you plug into that to?
See the Ethernet switch here?
Okay, right.
Where my laptop is, just plug it into there, spare port there.
Right, is that the green one, sorry?
That's my laptop, yeah. You can plug it in there.
Right, okay.
That's just a normal Ethernet switch, but panel mounted.
And where's that page? So if you plug that in, you're on your computer, what happens then? Is that?
Yeah, if you was to, there's different levels of intelligently monitoring it. You can put it on your network where you can put your own graphics on and all the rest of it, but built into that is a web page where you can access all of the data, and what you do is you pull up Windows Internet Explorer, type the IP address for that controller into the web browser, and it'll open you a web browser.
Right. The IP address is just written?
No, I've not given that to anyone yet, but I'll give it to you before I go. I can show you what that'll look like as well, if you like. That's what it looks like.
Just take a photo.
Yeah, sure. Now, if you wanted that on your network and you wanted it to work a bit smoother, then we could put an IP address that you want into there.
Right.
If you wanted it to be I mean, you can just type that into your laptop,
and it comes up with that page.
And it'll come up with that page. But if your IT team want to do anything special with it, they might want us to put a certain IP address in there, because IT.
I think we haven't really got an IT.
Right, so you wouldn't need it. But the amount of IT we work with in banks and stuff, they're so finicky. They want to know, they want to control everything. And that's what it looks like. And then I haven't got a password, but what you'll see from here is everything that I've explained. So all of the sensors, you can change the times. There's all the temperatures. Right. Knob settings, all the frost settings, and you can just change them.
Right.
So that's what it looks like.
Scheduling when the heating comes on and stuff. Like that. Is that going to involve?
Yeah. So time schedules. There's all your time schedules. Normal week, exceptions, which I'll go through in just a minute. But there's all your times. So.
Okay, great.
So that's already built in. We don't take it out. We don't password protect anything. We don't do anything fancy with it. It just gets up people's noses. So the next thing. So everything I've just described, all the temperature settings and everything, is accessible via this display. Now you have to come over to see this if you. But on the display, the home page will have our logo and our number. So first of all, if you have any real queries, just give us a call. But this, when you touch the screen, you'll be presented with this page, and really all you'll be looking at on this is operating times, to change the times, and controls browser. Controls browser is where you're going to find all the temperature settings. Okay, we're on boiler room. As you go into the boiler room, you're going to see all of the temperatures. So this is where you're going to see all the settings. And for instance, when I said to you that we monitor the pump that's in duty and there's no flow, so it fails the pump. It starts the second pump. What it'll do is it will fail that pump until you've reset it. An alarm will flash on here, and it will require resetting. So you'll have to actually go down, you find the switch that says whatever pump it is, primary pump fault reset, and you just turn it on. And what it will do is it will go on for a sec, and then it will switch itself off, and it will reset the software, and it will come back on. Okay, so all it does is it resets the latch in the software that's holding it off. Temperature settings, all of the frost settings you shouldn't be touching, because they're just conventional settings that have been tried and tested. They're all.
How do you know they're the frost ones? Sorry.
They've usually got frost. So you've got outside frost set point, low pipe frost set point, internal space frost set point. They're the ones that I was talking you over. And then what ones you will want to change are probably the AHU set points. So this is what temperature you want the changing room and what temperature you want the kitchen. All right, at the moment they're 21. That was the specification, and we haven't changed it since then. Have you had any problems?
It's all right.
It's all right. Yeah. But to change these set points, should you want to, it's as simple as just clicking on it and typing in a new one, or you can press up and down and clicking OK. And it's as simple as that. You can't really mess this up. It's like a TomTom style. It's self-explanatory. The labels are all pretty well designed, and you can't go far wrong as long as you're only using, from the home page, as long as you're only using the controls browser or the operating times. Other than that, you're not really interested. Schematics, they're not loaded because you don't have any. That's if you want animated schematics to see your system working and stuff. Favorites, users, we don't set any users up because this is going to be locked, isn't it? And you know who's going to be in here. Settings are to do with the actual settings of this. Alarms come up. You might have an alarm up here, and this will tell you if a pump has failed or something. So unactioned alarms. So pump 2 failed, pump 1 failed. It's letting you know that pumps have failed. That's what we just did. We just forced that. So operating times, controls browser, those two there. Controls browser, you're going to find the settings. Operating times, you're going to find the time zone settings, which again, you go into time zones, click on boiler room, and you're presented with main plant, which is all of this plant in here, and then we've got the changing room, kitchen, honours, drying room, hot water.
Right.
All right, so the hot water is when you want your hot water on. Drying room is when you want that ventilation on in there.
Right.
Honours, same. Kitchen, same. Changing room, same. Pretty self-explanatory, but what I'd pay attention to is the kitchen. If they're ever going to want to use the gas, you need to make sure that that time zone is set. Although the fan won't run until they press that switch, same in the changing room, unless they activate the key switch, the fan won't run, but you need to make sure that this time zone will allow it to run when they want to run it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you need the broad time zone so that if they come in then, it'll be available to run. Otherwise they'll turn it on, it won't run, they won't have gas.
Yeah. Well, why would you not just leave that on all the time?
We can, but we just didn't because, in fact, I think we did, but we wouldn't normally.
Right.
Let's just check what this time zone is set to. I think we did on this one, saying it. Yeah, that's 24 hours. So you can see it's all. So it's literally manual control.
And how would you just change that?
Just to change it. Yep. So click on the day.
Yeah.
Say we go to Friday.
Yeah.
That's 24 hour.
Right.
Okay. So you can change the start time. Oh, sorry. Change times for every Friday, and then you click on the start time. You can plus or minus 60, so that'll go up by hours.
Right.
Plus or minus the end time.
Yeah.
Let's just put that back, if I remember, and then you click OK.
Okay. Is it possible to add? Pressing add there add a separate bracket if you
want more than one on-off time?
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So you'd add a on-off time, enter it in, click OK.